Welcome to the RePsychled podcast, where we discuss everyday issues from a mental health perspective. We are your hosts, Dr. Rashonda Strickland,
Dr. LaFonya Jones-Hines,
and Dr. Nichelle Wall. Now, don't get it twisted. We're not going to be your stereotypical therapist.
What we will be is informative, down to earth, a little spicy, and vulnerable.
All right, interns, turn up your volume, grab your pen and paper. It's supervision time. As a reminder, this podcast is not meant to take the place of a relationship with a licensed mental health professional.
Welcome back to session 75, Message in a Bottle.
Come on, message in the bottle.
As y'all can see, we're still struggling with the sound. But luckily, our stuff is on its way.
Yes.
Thank God.
Yes, so y'all won't have to hear it like this for too long.
Mm-hmm. And we also want to just thank everybody for bearing with us. We had some things happen in our personal lives, and we got to roll with the punches just like we tell y'all to roll with the punches. So we do appreciate y'all letting us release this session a little bit later than usual and just continue to keep our Dr. Jones-Hines in your prayers.
Absolutely.
And just know that we are, just like we tell you all to take care of yourself and do self-care and things like that, we do the same thing. We try to follow our own suggestions that we give to you as well as our clients. So just know that, we didn't forget about y'all. We're back. All right. So, message in the bottle. So, what is that about? It's about y'all's favorite topic. Relationships. So, it's basically about long distance relationships or long distance love, whichever one you want to say. Do you all think that long distance relationships last?
I definitely think that long distance relationships can last for a significant amount of time, but I don't know if they can last forever. Like that can be the entire length of your relationship. 20, 30 years. We've been living in two separate states, or one person's incarcerated and the other one is not, because that's still technically long distance, even if you're in the same, same city. So I don't know if they are sustainable for decades, but I definitely think you can last some years.
I think they can last. I think it's just a matter of what is the quality you're looking for in the relationship? What things are necessary for y'all to be healthy, for you to have an enjoyable experience with the person that you've chosen. And so that's different for everybody. I think you have to be honest with yourself because relationships ain't for punks. So.
No.
They are not for play.
No.
At all.
I definitely agree with you ladies. I think that long distance relationships can last, but I think the question is, are they healthy? And if they are going to last, how do they last successfully and in a healthy way?
This is one of those types of relationships where you have to have very strict and solid rules, kind of like a polyamorous relationship. Like everything has to be talked about, and we're 100% on the same page with stuff like how are we going to stay connected and spend time with one another? How frequently are we going to talk? How long are we going to talk when we're on the phones? Are we on the same page, or are we doing video? Are we doing some combination of video and phone? What are going to be the rules for our relationship so that we still somewhat have that same type of connection that we would if we were in person consistently? And on top of that, how often are we going to see each other in person?
Yeah. And I think you also have to, like Dr. Wall was saying earlier, you have to know yourself. You have to understand, if you're one of those people who need to be near your partner or need to, your love language may be quality time. And quality time can look different you know, in all relationships, it may be physical touch. And that also can look different in all types of relationships. However, if you know that you're one of those people who actually need the mainstream definition of what those are, quality time and physical touch, long distance relationship is not for you. Mm-hmm. You have to know that. And to try and force yourself to do that is going to create insecurities.
Mm-hmm. And why do that? It just don't make no sense.
Right.
Like, you're not proving nothing to nobody that you stuck it out. Like, if this is not what you want, it's not what you want. And I think a lot of times people in relationships continue to just keep up with the Joneses. Well, so-and-so did this, so I should be able to do this. No, because you're not so-and-so, and you're not in that relationship. So I do think it is important to have, you know, your needs and wants kind of clear in your head, and also being attentive to the person that you chose, what their needs and wants are as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and I think some people also do long distance relationships just to say that they have someone. And that's not healthy either.
Sure ain't.
Oh, there's plenty of people out there that are in relationships, quote unquote, because it sounds good.
I like that.
Well, you know, who wants to be alone? You know, as a creature, you know, we're social. We want to be connected to other people. Mm-hmm. So to be able to say that I have and whether you're going to use the word boyfriend, girlfriend, man friend, woman friend, you know, people use all kind of weird terminology, but just to be able to say that I have that, it gives me a sense of, some people feel like legitimacy. Yeah, you know, in society.
Status.
Yeah, status, all kinds of things. So, yeah, if you're not, like you ladies were saying, aware of yourself and your own needs, then you may be in a relationship just for show.
Yeah. What has been y'all's experience with long distance?
I've had a few. I'm trying to, I mean, obviously they didn't work out because I'm not married to any of them.
Touche on that.
But I think it got to a point where it was like, where is this going? Because, you know, especially the last one, because he had his career in my hometown. I had my career here. Dr. Wall looking at me like, I know.
Yes.
But, you know, we had our career, and I wasn't leaving my business, and I wasn't expecting for him to leave his career, you know.
I didn't like him.
So, you know, it was just like, yeah, this isn't going. And so at some point it was like, yeah, no, we can't keep doing this, because I know this is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry.
No,
but I felt like, for what I was doing in my life, because of how busy we were and we had just started the companies, I think for me, long distance relationships were easier than me dating locally, because I didn't have to share my time. It was like, it was a planned time.
Yeah.
Ooh, I think you make a very valid point there. That was not my experience with my long distance ones, but just to kind of keep on that train, I think you make a valid point here on, you know, being able to have somebody because of the convenience it offers my life. So a long distance relationship, if I'm a very busy individual, you have to be much more intentional about spending time with that person. And if I just don't have time, then it is what it is. I just don't have the time. It's much easier for me to make the excuse, and I hate to say the word excuse, but it's easier for me to give that reason because you're not right here in my face.
Yeah.
You know, we're not living together, or we're just a couple of, 10, 15 minutes down the road from one another, where you can pop up on me and all that kind of stuff. You know, you live 3, 4, 5 states away. You know, it ain't as easy to come and just be at somebody's house.
Right.
That is true.
Yeah.
Right.
So I can definitely see that as, for a lot of people, especially professionals. You know, it's real easy for, I'm so busy, I'm so sorry, I've been working a lot. I can see that.
Well, and even with my husband, you know, when we first started out, it was easier because of what he does too. He's not here every day. You know, and now it's a problem. Well, no, it's not a problem, but now, you know, I want to see more of him and he wants to see more of me. But, you know, it's, when we first started, it was easier because of what he does.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like, okay, you know, we didn't have to really invest a lot in the beginning, which we didn't need to anyway, because like I told y'all before, we weren't really in that space yet.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I think for me, when I had, and I wouldn't even say a relationship, it was really casual, but long distance, it was more for interest. I was just testing out different ways of dating people. Back then, online dating was like just really kind of getting started. There was only maybe 2 profile or options for you to choose from. I think eHarmony and Match were like the only 2. Those were the only ones you could use. So like I was just testing out different ways to try to date people. So, you know, I'm like, hey, well, let me just open it up all over the place. You know? So I think mine was more experimental versus I was really committed to, I'm going to try to find a specific, you know, like I want to get married from somebody that I met online or something like that. It was just like, okay, well, I'm interested in dating. Because at that point I had gotten to a point where I'm like, okay, I think I want a relationship, but I hadn't fully committed to the idea that I was 100% ready to be in a relationship. So that was just a way for me to kind of open the door safely and experiment with dating.
Yeah. I'm on the opposite end of these ladies. So I will honestly say the majority of my relationships have been long distance or have had some element of long distance in them. Even when I met Dr. Strickland, I was in a long distance relationship and then he ended up being where I moved. So, for me, I can honestly say that they've all been good experiences. I haven't had any bad experiences with the process, but I also know that I'm an extreme giver. And so I don't know how much of that is because of me or if my needs were also being met. Like I would have to go back and process that. But like the person that I mentioned earlier, like I did 14 days of love for Valentine's Day. And we was in a whole other, I shipped him a big old box and he had to open one each day. Like I remember my cousin and I drove the thing down here and left it in his house. Like he was so, you know, it didn't work out. The point is it didn't work out. But I've always done stuff like that, you know, having movie dates through, at the time, Skype, you know, because Zoom wasn't available. Right. When I was engaged, that person was in the military. So, you know, all my people that are in relationships with military folk, you got to be ready whenever it's time for them to ship out or whatever. Even as a kid, like, they were all pretty much long distance. I don't know what that say about me.
Do you not just want to love nobody around you?
This is the problem. The people around me, this is what I have found out, and this might be a session we need to do. I don't think I'm the people's type in my area. So people in other places like me more than the people that are around me.
Yes. I think we need to do a session on that.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, I can see that.
I can see that, and just hearing you say that, and I'm like, oh, that sounds like such a mind-blowing yet simple concept at the same time. Because I can think of other people that are either in my life or clients of mine that have had similar experience. Like they're just not, for the area we live in, there's a certain type of woman that is deemed attractive or relationship material, for lack of a better term.
And we're in DFW now. And so even the person that was here, he's originally from Louisiana. So, yeah.
I think that's interesting.
It's a certain type of man here. And I don't think I'm their type.
And you know what? The thing, this is so funny that you say that because...
Too neo-so.
I know.
Yeah. I ain't got enough ratchet or bougie or gold digger in me.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's
All
a
three.
problem.
All three.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's a problem for
So weird.
to date men.
It
here.
is.
Oh, man.
You know, it's, oh gosh, it's so funny you say that because like I would get on the dating sites when I left. Like, so my job before we opened up Balance Beacon, at the end of it, I was a traveling therapist.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go to like Nebraska or Arizona, and then I would get on the sites because I was bored. And so, and I would be like, okay, so by the time, I get back, they've been undoing it off because, it's a dating site. So that's when I would get the more hits from people in Dallas. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on with this?
Ooh.
We're going to have to pick our brains about that, because also it relates to something that I've heard Will Smith talk about when he talks about there's something about certain places that just resonates with your soul, and his places like Dubai and Miami. I can't remember where he said like his wife and kids spots were, but I think that's true for dating as well. I just
you haven't found your spot yet.
Even the person y'all love, he in Tennessee.
Can we get a moment of silence?
I know.
For my platonic soulmate.
But he is willing to move to Texas.
Yeah.
He said, we had this whole conversation. So I ain't gonna even say nothing else about it.
So isn't this session
this is not about Dr. Wall. It's not about Dr. Wall.
Okay.
It's about our interns.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so say for instance you're in a long distance relationship, and say for instance your partner is incarcerated, and you say from the beginning, like, okay, because you obviously you may not know the sentencing in the beginning. So you like, okay, I'm gonna stick this out with you. I'm gonna be, by your side. I'm gonna hold you down, blah, blah, blah.
Not a ride or die. Because you have information.
That's why I didn't say ride or die. But then the sentencing come. And it's like they get 10, 15 years. Some people will try to stick to that original I'ma stand by your side decision, even if you know that gives you a bad feeling, even though you know that's not something that you're wanting to do, and or that you even need to do, because we all desire quality time from a companion, whether it's sexual, whether it's physical, whether it's just having fun. No, whatever it is, we all desire that. And if you cannot stick to your original, I'm going to stand beside you, be okay with that. That's what Dr. Wall was saying. Like, you have to know yourself. Be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because that is a different type of long distance. Long distance by choice and long distance by force. I don't know if those are going to yield the same results.
It's a certain level of desolation when it comes to one by force. And I haven't ever had a long distance with someone who's incarcerated, but I can imagine there is some similarity to being with someone who is in the military, because they don't get to choose nothing. And especially if you end up dating someone up the chain of command, it's
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So they said they going.
Yeah.
And you have to be like, okay. And if you a girlfriend, you're not going with them.
No.
That is true.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why my younger brother is in the military, and he was like, yeah, I don't want to get married right now. He don't want to do any of that right now.
Which makes sense.
He's focused on the career.
Yeah. Growing up as a military brat. Now my parents were married, but it's a hard life.
Yeah.
It's hard to pick up and move every 2-3 years and completely start your life all over. Now the camaraderie is that everybody's doing that, so there's a little bit less fear around it, because everybody in the military does that.
Yeah.
So it's a community that everybody understands what it is.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that it's still not difficult to uproot your life. So I can completely understand, like, look, I don't want to put somebody else through that, because that makes the spouse, it's difficult for the spouse to have a career, because they're always having to, get a new job every couple of years, stuff like that. So I respect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you all think that infidelity is a caveat to long distance relationship?
I think infidelity is a caveat to people who don't know themselves.
Okay.
That's what I honestly believe. Because at the end of the day, there are just certain things that you either gonna do or you not gonna do. I get there as an occasional, dang, I slipped up, I was not prepared for this, maybe I was too inebriated, like whatever. So I'm not saying this is just a blanket statement, but there's just certain things, and I ain't gonna do that. Or yes, I am gonna do that. Or I feel like it's my right to be able to do this because you ain't providing something. And at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, with this long distance thing, am I going to be able to do this with one person? Do I need a fleet, of birds or whatever, whatever it is you need? I think that goes back to, am I being honest with myself? Because there are people who cheat and they person right next to them. Yeah. Let alone, that is true. There are people who have never cheated and they've been in long distance relationships. So I think you really just have to ask yourself, is this what I want? Is it giving what it's supposed to give? Like that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah. I think that goes into knowing your love language. Like you were saying a little bit earlier, that if you are, in particular, quality time or physical touch, those are going to be the ones that I think get depleted quickly and or probably lead to more episodes of infidelity. Now, if you're a gift-giving person, then long distance really ain't gonna matter to, you one way or the other, because you can ship gifts all day long. Right. You come home and all of a sudden you got a basket full of fruit and roses at the door. You're gonna be on cloud 9.
You gotta put in that work. Yeah. And I say that from the perspective of, I am someone whose top 3 are physical touch, quality time, and words of affirmation. So you got to figure out what it is you want. Are we dating every week? Are we talking every day? Now, we don't have to call. You can text me because I don't want to talk to people all the time. So I do that for a living. But you really have to go through your mind and think about these things. And you're going to have to be willing to drop some coins and make them trips. Yeah. Equally. Yeah. And whatever equal looks like to y'all,
I think that's the I hate to say dirty little secret about long distance relationships. Yeah. That they have the potential to be more expensive than in person or, I hate to say in person, but
face to face.
Yeah. Relationships, because of the distances, it takes more time, energy, money to get together. And when I say more expensive, like all of that, the time from, if I live in Georgia and my partner lives in Cali, or Portland, okay, so now we've got the time to prepare to travel, the actual travel time, the time when we get there to travel to where we're going. That all is a cost.
Or do y'all meet halfway? Or do one person come all the way?
Because you do got to do both. You got to meet where each of you live, because you need to see this person in the dark of night and in the bright of day. Yes. But then also, once y'all get to a good place, I think it's also good to just meet in different places. Yeah. But you got to have your coins together, because that's just not a lifestyle everybody can do. Now, y'all might be able to do it now because we're in a whole panini press and they have all these deals, but it's still a struggle.
But when things go back to the regular... Yeah.
And you also have to understand, if you're one of those people who... lack trust. If you have mistrust, distrust, whichever one you want to describe, this is not the type of relationship you can have.
You might not need to be in now, as the older people say now.
I agree with that. But you definitely don't need to be in a long distance.
Yeah.
One.
No.
There's too many insecurities. Too many insecurities gonna pop up.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. There's too many open spots. Yeah. Because if you said you was gonna call me at 3:30 and it's 4:15, boom, you already. So who you were, you was doing what, and it could have been like, look, my battery was on 4% and my charger was acting fine. It literally could be something that simple, but an insecure individual is going to blow that situation up way bigger than, what it was. So
I don't need that crazy juju running through my body because it feel like you can't get yourself together.
It's a good point because it's not just women who have insecurities and lack of trust. Men do too.
What you doing? Who over there? Me? Like
that's the TV. What you talking about?
Now I will say I have had one of those in a long distance relationship, and I was just like, this ain't gonna work. Because I can't do this. I like to be free in my relationship within the bounds of what we have set it up to be. And if you are allowing your insecurities to pop up and mess that up, you are sabotaging this relationship. And I would rather not go down with the ship. Go down by yourself.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I think you have to understand the difference between your lack of trust and your need for physical closeness, because those are also two different things.
Yes.
When you need physical closeness, that's something that you need to evaluate. Like, are you yearning to be hugged? Are you yearning to have sex? Are you yearning to hold someone's hand? Or is it the insecurities like I think somebody at your house and you cheating. Like those are two different things, and you have to know the difference.
It's so much going on in the world right now, and we could all use some extra support. At Balance Beacon, we offer counseling services for individuals, couples, families, and groups. If you're in Texas, give us a call at 214-396-6503 or visit our website at www.balancebeacon.com for more information.
I think the other thing, of course, this is relationships across the board, is your ability to communicate.
Yes.
It makes me think about what you were saying a little bit earlier, Dr. Walk. Nope, that was you, Dr. Jones Hines. Where are we going? Having known somebody that's in a long distance relationship, that's one of the things that they're struggling with right now is that feeling of stagnation, that, we've gotten to a comfortable place with where we are. So where are we going from here? At some point, one of us is going to have to make a move.
Yep.
Yeah.
One or both of us.
Yep.
Like you were saying, one has a career here, one has a career here, and neither one of us want to leave those careers. But if we both know that we want to be together, somebody or both is going to have to either negotiate so that we both can go somewhere else or sacrifice so one of us comes to where the other person is. Yeah. And how do you, the struggle with pushing to that next point, because that can potentially become the unfortunate downfall in the relationship, because people start digging their heels in real quick.
Oh, yeah.
If they feel like they're being pressured or manipulated in some kind of way. And so I do think that having consistent conversations on what is the goal? Is the goal for us to just be where we are and this is just the relationship we're going to have? Or is the goal that we want to be together in physical space at some point in time? Yeah. And what steps are we taking to make either one of those a reality?
I think something to add on to that, just because we've been also talking about the love languages, is that also goes with words of affirmation. Like you have to be willing to affirm your partner a little bit more when you are in a long distance relationship, because you're not getting a lot of the things that a face-to-face couple is getting. Like, you gonna have to talk. And if you one of them jokers that like to be silent and stoic, this probably ain't for you. This is probably not for you. You're going to have to say, how you feel and what I think about you, what I think about our relationship. This is where we're headed towards. Like, you do have to affirm your partner. And if you are one of those individuals who thinks it's that stupid or that's corny or whatever, first of all, grow up. But secondly, you have to realize no one is reading the thoughts that are going on in your head. Half the time, you're not reading them.
And to add to the grow up part, so a lot of times, a lot of long distance relationships develop when people graduate from high school. Because somebody's going off to college, or both people are going to college in different areas, or military, whatever your future holds for you. But then what happens is, one of my girlfriends, her son is an athlete, and him and, they had his little graduation party, and his little girlfriend was at the table. So I sat down and talked to them, and I was like, so how y'all gonna make this work? He's an athlete. He's not going to be available to you all the time. Mm-hmm. He's also an athlete. So there's going to be women after him.
Oh, lots.
Right. So how y'all going to make this work? And I told him, I said, I'm not saying that it's going to be doomed. Because when you go, but the thing about it is, when you go off to college, you're in a whole different world.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
A whole different world, which is
your access changes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. You have because when you go to college for women, we dress different, we look different, we change our hair possibly, we learn how to do our little makeup you know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of things that change. Mm-hmm. And if you are dating someone who y'all don't go to the same school, y'all could even still go to the same school and still be in a long distance relationship because the campus may be so big.
What's that movie?
Love and Basketball.
Yes,
that. Yes,
because Q would have got knocked out. Knocked that boy head off.
We haven't even breached into that version of long distance relationship. We've been talking about physical long distance relationship. Yeah. We haven't even dove into emotionally long, quote unquote, long distance relationships.
Right.
Where you are in the same space, but you are miles apart from one another.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Totally different vibe. Totally different. Mm-hmm. And I know us as psychology majors can definitely attest to that, because the battlefield that we have to go through of self-acceptance and changing the way you think, becoming as healthy as possible, learning these modalities and different things like that. It is a world in and of itself. And so that is going to also affect anybody that you're dating. And emotionally, y'all are going to be on two different pages. Mm-hmm. You've heard us talk about the fact of how we become totally different people when we went through our doctoral programs and dissertation. These are other examples of being emotionally long distance. Mm-hmm. It ain't easy.
Mm-mm. No. If anything, I really would want to do a deep dive on that, because that happens to a lot of married couples, especially people that have been married for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Mm-hmm. You can just read it on them that there's like, okay, we here just to be here. Mm-hmm. What you gonna leave for? Or it's cheaper to keep it, that whole kind of concept. Mm-hmm. It makes me think about something that I spoke with somebody about, it was a while ago, that they had noticed in their job, they deal with finances, and they noticed that a lot of people were divorcing after 30 years, 35 years, and they were wondering, like, what in the world? Why are people, being together this amount of time, and then they finally, leave one another? Mm-hmm. So the thing that I was talking with this person about was, people get tired of being separated. Mm-hmm. A lot of people do that after the children leave because they've just been biding time, to get the kids out of the house, because, it's easier to have a 2-parent household, even if we hate each other, or
don't get along,
or don't even care for each other. Not even hate each other. We just don't care for each other.
We're going along to get along.
Right. I said, so you see a lot of that. And then also when people get to a certain point in life, they just want something different. They want more for themselves. Mm-hmm. And if that person does not have the capacity to give it to them, then you're going to see a lot of people that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and sometimes 80s. Mm-hmm. People that have been married 50, 60 years, leaving one another because it gets to a point where I don't want the rest of my days to be alone and separated from the people that love me or that I want to love. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I really would love maybe for us to do a deep dive on being long distance but close together.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's a good topic. I think that's a really good topic, because I think we do have a lot of listeners that are married or in long-term relationships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
That was a good segue. Sorry about that.
Well, so why do y'all think long distance relationships fail specifically?
I think they don't know how to address problems as they come up. Mm-hmm. And so you're meeting each other very infrequently. So you're trying to enjoy the moment, all that kind of stuff. But in the enjoying of the moment, you also have to build foundation. Mm-hmm. And building foundation is resolving problems. And so that may be what you want to start with, or you may want to get that initial let's get it on situation together and then go into problem solving. But either way, y'all have to put however many months or years y'all have been apart in that one meeting. So y'all need to plan accordingly. Y'all need to talk about those things. Hey, I want to be able to discuss this with you face to face, or we can discuss it right now, even though we're apart. And I don't think people don't know how to problem solve. Conflict resolution, y'all know, is something that we talk about consistently in therapy. Mm-hmm. And so I can only imagine that distance is going to exacerbate that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I was thinking about when I was just doing some research was one of the things that they talked about was absolute language. Mm-hmm. So always, never, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Or every time. Mm-hmm. So when you have that kind of language, so, you never call me when you say you're going to call, or you always are late to the Zoom chat. When you start to have that kind of absolute language, you start to see and view your partner through that lens. Mm-hmm. And then when those types of expectations of disappointment start setting in, again, you are thinking absolutely, so I'm going to always be disappointed by you, insert whatever the reason is. Mm-hmm. Yep. And that kind of stuff starts to seep in and create more of that insecurity. Mm-hmm. So if I had to piggyback or add on to what you were saying, Dr. Wall, is that I do think that when long distance relationships start to fail, a lot of it is built on insecurities.
I agree with that. Yeah. And I would add on to that, people don't have, like Dr. Wall was saying, don't have those foundational conversations for fear of possibly losing the person. Mm-hmm. Because I think at some point, even in the beginning, the conversation of who's going to move need to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if no one is moving, then this relationship shouldn't be moving.
Yeah. Right. What are we doing?
Right.
Other than occupying time?
Right. And what you do is you end up developing feelings for this person with no
endpoint.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so then now you hurt because there was no endpoint, but you knew that or didn't know that because you didn't have the conversation.
Mm-hmm. But you got to own that because you set your own self up for failure. It's not the other person's responsibility to get your needs met if you never talked about the needs. Mm-hmm.
And you can't be afraid of talking about your needs for fear of losing that person. Because if you can't talk about your needs to this person, then that's not the person that you need to be with anyway.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Remember when we talked with Dr. Leach, your fear needs to be a motivator, not a paralytic. Mm-hmm. And so you have to make sure, okay, I feel this way. I know that this could go one or two ways or however many ways, but you have to move through that emotion. Mm-hmm. It's not supposed to be the only defining factor in how you make a decision. You have to be like, okay, I want this person. But if they are unwilling to compromise or work towards a desired point, that ain't the person for me. I can cry and get over that later, but I got to deal with this problem now.
Yeah, fear is not meant to hold you hostage and keep you stuck in a situation that you don't need to be in. It needs to push you forward to do something so that you can get past the fear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's because we've talked about anxiety in various forms here with our clients, probably with friends and family, that there is an evolutionary reason for anxiety. We've turned it into something else because we don't have a lot of the same environmental factors as our, long ago ancestors. Mm-hmm. We're not being chased by wildebeests and water buffalo and, stuff like that.
At least you shouldn't be.
But if you out there on one of them safari things.
Or survival.
Getting out the Jeep when you're not supposed to be now.
Naked and afraid.
Yeah. Now, that's a whole different story. But for the most part, we're not faced with the same types of survival issues that we were before. So we have all of this base anxiety, these instinctual reactions to situations where they really don't.
We be doing too much.
Right. I was like, I don't want to be dismissive, but we do a lot based off of what, is really going on, because what is the real threat? Now, if somebody's holding a gun to you, things like that, then again, that's a situation that's posing an actual, potentially fatal threat. But, stuff like, oh man, I'm going to miss this deadline because it was at 12 o'clock and it's 10:30 and now I'm about to have a whole panic attack. That's, one, go back and look at all the factors that led up to why you're late. But there is a reason for anxiety. But if you can keep it managed and understand that I'm in control of a lot of the things in my life, there are only so many things that are outside of our control. That if I don't have this conversation with this person, if I don't really dive into what my needs are, if I don't set my boundaries or whatever it is, that it's going to lead to all these other areas that cause strife for you. Because you're making it more difficult than what it needed to be.
Right.
Like one of our therapists has said, life is simple but hard. The easy stuff is complicated.
Yes. So, although we're not saying that all long distance relationships fail, here are a few signs that you can look at to know if, that's the way your relationship is headed. You rarely visit each other. You feel sad, upset, and miserable more often than what you feel happy and fulfilled. You don't have a plan for moving in together. You don't share your feelings or intimate things. You tried fixing the problems, but nothing is working. You rarely talk with your long distance partner. You're feeling confused about why you are in this relationship. I have several more, but I think that's enough.
That's the one right there. In any relationship. Why did I choose this joker?
I have worked with so many individuals that were hookups gone too long. You took a casual physical relationship and turned it into a committed relationship and or marriage.
Wow.
And now you're X number of years in and you can't stand one another.
Oof.
Nope. So I think that last one there that's the ticket. Ooh. Yeah.
So then on the flip side, because we don't want to leave y'all on the end note.
No.
So on the flip side, some ways that you can make your relationship, your long distance relationship work out is to establish expectations, schedule in time together, like whether it's going to be, face to face, y'all visiting each other, things like that.
You must date each other.
Yes. Prioritize connecting, not just talking. Share your calendars. That may be for some. I never thought of that one either.
Because we're from a different era.
That's true.
Oh, she just aged us, guys.
Our calendars were paper.
Okay.
Yes. And one of the reasons why you share your calendars is to build that trust and that security in your relationship, because at that point, you kind of know where each other is going to be at that point. And especially in the beginning, well, I'll say throughout the whole thing, but especially during the beginning, because you don't know if you can trust this person. And I know there are some people who live by or subscribe to, I'll trust you until you give me a reason not to trust you. And there are some people that know you're going to have to earn my trust. Regardless of which end of the spectrum you fall on, you want to make sure you can create a foundation where you can feel secure in your relationship.
Yeah. And if y'all were face to face, y'all would be normally knowing this stuff anyway, so sharing your calendar really ain't that big of a deal when you really conceptualize it in a healthy way instead of, oh my God, they all in my business. Dude, chick, you trying to share your life with somebody. I'm confused.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is it becomes a problem when only one of you are demanding that. Now, if that's a conversation that you all have and you talk about, you know what, how do you feel about us sharing our calendars with each other so that we can kind of just know where each other's going to be and we can just kind of keep up with, so I can know when I can text you and send you a cute little text message if I need to. If you're going to be in a business meeting, I don't want to send you one because you're going to be in a business meeting. You know, it's just things like that, you know, and honor each other's time. So like I said, if they're in a business meeting, I understand sometimes you might just send a quick little cute little message or whatever or something like that. But then don't just keep texting. Like, honor that person's time. You know, if they don't respond back, hence, that's why you have the calendar. You know they're in a meeting. Or you know they're not available. Be fully present when you're together. So when you're on the phone, you know, that needs to be a time where y'all are connecting. When y'all are Skyping or FaceTiming, whatever you do, Zoom, whatever, that means, you know, y'all need to be fully invested in each other's time. Like, even if you need to, you know, have dinner together, cook dinner together and eat together, you know, that's a time for y'all to connect. Share your accomplishments. You know, y'all are long distance, so y'all are not there to share that with your partner when you come home. Oh my God, guess what happened? You know, they're not face to face.
Yeah. And just a weird ad that I would add on to all of these. If you're going to get into a long distance relationship, also consider the time zone that the person lives in.
True that.
So if you are dating somebody and you are in the U.S. and this person lives in Germany or they live in Russia, you know, you're going to be on two different, completely different time zones. On top of your work schedules. So, you know, also consider those, you know, potential pitfalls when you're thinking about dating long distance.
Well, I would even say, you know, and I'm just using these two as examples, even Arizona and Texas. You know, in the summertime, they're 2 hours behind. And in the wintertime, they're 1 hour behind. So that's still a time difference.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Be cognizant of that. Because, I mean, you're giving a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of money. You know, these are already boundary areas that people struggle with. So you definitely want to make sure that you're being mindful to not show up half-heartedly in these areas. So you got to come correct. Now, like we said earlier in the session, long distance ain't for everybody, and that's okay too. But we do know, especially during the holiday time, it becomes even more difficult, and we in a panini press. So there's so many other things working against this type of relationship. So, you know, just be mindful of that.
And I just want to give two more. I think I have several, but I think these two are something that Dr. Wall was saying earlier. Don't be afraid to be extra and then surprise each other.
Yes.
I think those are things that people always appreciate.
I like it. Okay, so you guys know we always end off with a quote. And today's is brought to you by Dr. Wall.
Today's quote comes from Hans Newens. It reads, "In true love, the smallest distance is too great, and the greatest distance can be bridged."
Must be this volume control.
So, okay, interns, process your notes. Be sure to catch us next session and find us on all major platforms at the RePsychled Podcast. If you're a new intern, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share.
Thanks for listening. And remember, we are shifting and reshaping our psyche through healing conversations and connections, one discussion at a time.